2000 was pivotal for Rossmoor. It marked the change from looking at our past to seeking a brighter future. In 1999, we celebrated 35 years of growth. Now, in 2000, the new millennium, we look forward to our changing needs and improvements. What concerns initiated these changes? There were two major concerns that ruffled the calm routine of Rossmoor in the year 2000. The first one was a plan to renovate the Gateway complex, and the other to improve the community facilities. The Golden Rain Board had asked the residents to express their needs and concerns. These needs were gathered into a plan of action. The major responders were the library, the bridge clubs, the computer club, and the Redwood Volunteers, and the arts and crafts clubs. Let's look at these one at a time. The library, located in the Live Oak Room for more than 30 years, needed more space. There were shelves were packed with books. There was little space for readers to sit or to examine the books. There was no space for discs and other modern library amenities. The many bridge clubs were meeting in the fireside room and the multipurpose rooms, with a constant need for rearranging the tables and chairs to accommodate the other clubs that use the same space. The bridge clubs argued for a place of their own. Other table games, such as poker, mahjong, etc., could use the space as well. The need for a permanent space where tables and chairs were always available for all card groups was a major concern. The computer club was one of the fastest growing clubs during this time. Residents needed a place to get to help with emailing and learning about software. This growing demand helped put the computer club in line for more space. Technology was growing rapidly, and residents who had never used computers were in much need of help and instructional classes. The Redwood Room, although a useful room, was too small to serve as a social center. Its kitchen was inadequate, lacking a stove and other decent preparation area. The main room at Gateway, which is now known as the Fireside Room, was used frequently for large parties. It was limited to 250 guests at dinner. Clubs and event planners needed more room. In seeking more space, there was talk of removing the fireplace. The Dollar Pool and Cabana, which sits behind the Dollar Clubhouse, had been there since the 1930s. The pool leaked and is too small. The Cabana is equally old and needs to be replaced. The locker room was too small. Mold and dry rot were discovered. The frequent bather wanted attention to these facilities. Our entrance gate is small and old, and it does not reflect modern taste. The lanes should be larger. The stalls for the officers needed more space for safety reasons. An electronic gate system is desired. More lanes needed to be added. Technology offered ways to increase safety and speed traffic. It was decided that the gatehouse needed to be enlarged. Computer equipment needed to be installed, as well as an electronic gate system. The fitness center, located in the Del Valle Clubhouse, was in need of expansion and more equipment. There was an outcry from the residents about the dangers of the sun on skin. They wanted a covered pool. The cover would not only shade the bathers from the summer sun, but hold the heat in the winter. A year-round facility for exercise and fitness was asked for. Jerry Prebat was re-elected as president of the Golden Rain Board at the May annual meeting. Earlier in his New Year message, he spoke of the changes that were coming in the next 2 or 3 years. There were to be renovations and expansion of our community facilities for the benefit of all the residents. Sketches of the proposed changes began to appear in the Rossmoor News. He estimated the cost at $8 million. Because of the amount, action on the proposed required a vote of the residents according to the bylaw change. There was a reorganization in the Golden Rain Foundation staff. In 1999, Steve Adams was appointed the CEO. He previously headed mutual operations. His leadership was to guide the construction over the next few years. In January 2000, he spoke to the Rossmoor Residents Association that Rossmoor needed renovation and modernization of their facilities. He was surprised that the association's reaction was not as positive as he expected. He became aware that the fight for improvement would test his leadership skills. During the year, the Golden Rain Board made changes in the administration building. It was enlarged so that counseling services could move down from the second floor to a better location to help residents. Staff members who do not serve the residents directly were moved to the Rockview Drive near the maintenance offices. What remained were the board offices, the recreation department, and manor record staff. Other projects were undertaken during the year was the berm along the Golden Rain Road. It had long been a pile of dirt left over from the construction of Lakeshire and Waterford. The Golden Rain Board voted $200,000 for its conversion to a park with paths, lawn, trees, and landscaping. Now let us take a look at other major concerns of the year 2000. Third Walnut Creek Mutual has over 2,000 units spaced around the valley in a series of housing projects. Some projects were built as early as 1970. Others were not built until the year 2000. All had different plans, using different materials, and were at different locations. This in itself caused difficulty in keeping up the maintenance and repair. To make these repairs, the Board of Directors of Third Walnut Creek Mutual assessed each manor the same amount. The mutuals then used the money to make repairs where needed. Some projects were complaining that this money was not being used properly. Several lawsuits were brought against the mutual. It claimed that the CC&Rs required that project money be used for project needs. Other projects, not satisfied with Third Walnut Creek Mutual, sought to secede from the mutual. The pivotal action of Third was to solve these concerns. Throughout the year, the struggle within and without the mutual continued in meetings and in the courts. Mediation among the various parties led to proposals presented to the judge of the Superior Court. Finally, George David Flynn handed down his decision. It required that projects whose maintenance and repair costs exceeded their assessment pay to the other projects whose repairs and maintenance work failed to meet the assessed amount. Not everyone, of course, was satisfied with the decision. Those projects that were not content talked about secession. There was no provision in Third Walnut Creek Mutual for bylaws for secession. The Mutual Board proposed a series of bylaws amendments that would make it possible for a project to secede. The necessary steps were outlined. A vote of the entire residents of the Mutual gave the amendments their approval by a wide margin. Basically, the changes required that any project that might wish to secede must set up an organizational structure with officers and a board of directors. A vote of the residents of that project was also necessary for the secession. Another change went more smoothly. It was pivotal to First Walnut Creek Mutual. In First Walnut Creek Mutual, the change from the management services of C.B. Richard Ellis to Mutual Operations Division was smoothly handled. While C.B. Richard Ellis closed down its 2000 operation, MOD prepared the budget for the year 2001. By moving its operations to Rockview, the 2 rooms of C.B. Richard Ellis at Gateway were made available for resident use. The year 2000 might otherwise be considered a normal year in Rossmoor. There were happy residents and those who hoped for change. Small problems needed to be solved. Residents continued to live active life. There were plenty of choices of what to do. Few wanted to leave, and many more wanted to join the party. With over 200 clubs and organizations available, there was plenty to do. The recreation department continued to arrange major events for the education and entertainment. These community-wide events were a regular feature. Let's take a note of a few. The Women's Conference had become an annual event. It was looked forward to by many of the ladies. Its success was due to the hard work of the counseling department. Rossmoor had a jazz festival. It covered 2 nights in 3 clubhouses. The jazz program gives a picture of the number of performers and performances. The 4th of July celebration of Independence Day was moved to the Dollar Picnic Grounds. There was entertainment and games and food. This is a great sight, as the lawn offered plenty of room for family picnics. It was more fun than formal court of flags. Children and grandchildren appreciated the nearby Dollar swimming pool. A special was a luau held in the fall in the same Dollar picnic ground. Hawaiian life was a theme with hula dancers and lots of fun. The flea market was a much appreciated event in the spring, and the fall bazaar always drew a large number of exhibitors. Residents were eager to buy the goods on sale. Each fall, the John Muir Medical Center and Kaiser Permanente Hospital offered flu clinics. Every member of their chosen medical plan had the opportunity to get their flu shots here in Rossmoor and not travel beyond the gates. Residents were offered a drive-up shooting where the cars lined up with the windows down so that the nurses could check medical records and provide the vaccines. A new feature introduced in 2000 was a Friday lunch program. This is a federal support program to ensure the seniors have a healthy lunch. The cost was $1.75 per person. It offered a warm meal and a chance to chat with friends and neighbors. Resident volunteers helped with the service. Safety has always been a concern in Rossmoor. Drivers are regularly warned of the dangers of speeding and the failure to stop at stop signs. Even though the speed limit was 25 miles per hour throughout Rossmoor, the cry of people was for more local police and more attention to making the streets safe. The Rossmoor News regularly warned resident drivers, but this did not stop one driver from ending up in the creek. Our wooden structures are subject to fires. Careless oldsters are forgetful. This leads to fire in a manner on Leisure Lane. The rapid response of neighbors and fire department limited the damage to one manors. Our bathers are in need to be alert as well. We are fortunate that our lifeguards are aware of the possible dangers. During the year, they were able to save 4 lives by their speedy actions. Another aid to the safety and well-being of the residents was the purchase of defibrillators. The security staff was trained in their use while waiting for the arrival of medical help. There were changes right outside Rossmoor, too. St. Anne's Church completed its renovation and earthquake retrofitting of the church and the enlargement of the hall. The altar was rebuilt and the walls reinforced. The hall was enlarged, as was the library and the kitchen. It received new equipment. The detention basin, which holds back the flow from the heavy rains, was enlarged and deepening. During the process, Indian remains were found. As the hole was deepened, the remains of campfires were found at a depth that suggested that life existed in the valley 2,000 years ago. Also in the year 2000, Tice Valley Park was dedicated. It included a reworking of the Globe site, a playing field for sports, and a playground for children. The gymnasium, built on the Jewish community property, would be used by both the city of Walnut Creek and the Jewish Community Center. There was a parking lot and a restroom adjacent to the children's playground. The pivotal news for the Golden Rain came late in the year 2000. The Golden Rain Foundation received some news that would change the future of Rossmoor. Steve Adams, the CEO, had consulted an attorney regarding the trust agreement. This is the contract between the Golden Rain Foundation and the mutuals, by which it provided the services to the mutual. It was the opinion of the attorney that the bylaws amendment passed in 1978 that required a vote of the residents for any major construction costing more than $250,000 was not valid. The argument was that the trust agreement is between the Golden Rain Foundation and the mutuals. The bylaws amendment, voted by the residents, had no effect on the agreement between 2 other parties. Any change in the trust agreement must be agreed upon by the Golden Rain Foundation and the mutuals, the boards of directors. The reaction to this news was varied. To some, it opened the opportunity for repairs rapidly done and new construction. For others, it was the shutting out of the resident vote in Golden Rain actions. Few residents know that the Golden Rain Foundation wears two hats. One of the hats is the one we are all familiar with, that of operating all the facilities. The other hat is that of trustee for those facilities. It is its job to supply and maintain those facilities for the use of the mutuals. This decision will become the subject of debate in the coming year. And at this point, we end our presentation on Rossmoor's life in the year 2000. We see a brighter future for all. This is John Nutley, your Rossmoor historian, thanking you for watching.